Hello everyone, I am here in this lesson to talk to you about track changes. My goal is not to mess this up too terribly bad as I'm going through. If I do, just work around me so I don't have to re-record everything. So we need the 11 Contoso assignments file, and we are going to go to File and Save As. And we are going to name this 11 Assignment Solution. And then I am going to press save. Okay, so we use track changes as a way to communicate and to suggest things in terms of possible fixing of things that have been done, to kind of see who has done things. They usually run in conjunction with comments, which we will talk about in a little bit. So we are going to go to the review tab, and then we are in the changes group. And what we're going to do first is this protect and share workbook. So up here it says protect and share, and it gives you a dialog box that says protect and share workbook. Protect workbook for sharing with track changes. This shares your workbook and then prevents changing tracking from being removed. If desired, a password may be chosen prior to sharing the workbook. Okay, so in the dialog box, we're going to click the sharing with track changes. And what we're doing essentially here is we are going to, it says the password text box becomes active. You can assign a password, but it is not necessary. Again, it's just a layer of protection. If you wanted another layer of protection on there, and someone could only change things around if they had this password. So we are going to click OK. And once we press OK, this next dialog box comes up, says this action will now save the workbook. Do you want to continue? Yes. So you have now marked the workbook to save track changes. Okay. So it will be essentially following us in what we're doing. Okay. You can turn track changes off by clicking this Unprotect Share Workbook up here in the Review tab in the Changes group before you have completed any of the exercises if you wanted to. So it's easily turned off. So we are going to go or stay on the Review tab in the Changes group, and now we're going to do Share Workbook. And the Share Workbook dialog box appears, and we have Editing and we have Advanced. Okay, so under Editing, we see who has this workbook open now. I do. Under Advanced, we can kind of monitor how long we keep the history for, when the changes occur in terms of like saving. We can take care of any conflicts that might occur between multiple users doing this. And when we're using track changes. So we are here to go to Advanced, and it says in the Keep Change History for box right here at the top, we are going to change that to 35. So you can press the up arrow, or you can easily just type a number in, whatever way works, as long as it's efficient. Then we're going to click the automatically every option button, so the file automatically saves every 15 minutes. So instead of us pressing save, it is going to save every 15 minutes with this track. Okay, and it says save my changes and see other changes, or just see the other users' changes. We're going to leave the default as is. And then it says click OK to accept the default settings for the remainder of the options. Okay, and then we're going to press save before we get going, because that's kind of a big thing here as we start doing track changes. So now we are, since we've got it turned on and we've got it set with the options, now we're going to insert track changes. So we're going to go to the Review tab, to the Changes group, and we are going to click Track Changes. And in our drop-down list, we have Highlight Changes and Accept and Reject. So we're going to start with Highlight Changes. And in our highlight changes dialog box, the track changes when editing box is selected. So it says when, and it says it's inactive because track changes was active when you share the workbook. So in the when drop down box, we're going to click this down arrow, okay? And I am going to change this to all, okay? So you could do since I last saved, not yet reviewed, since a date. We're just going to highlight all the changes, okay? And then it says in the who, we're going to check the box, and then we're going to press the drop down, and it says check the box with everyone, which is what was selected anyway. And we could have picked everyone but me or just me. So we're going to do everyone. Okay, so this is where it gets important, okay? Just because we're going to pretend like we're different people here, in real life, if you were multiple people on here, you would change all this and it would just happen and we wouldn't have to think about it unless you make the mistake of forgetting to change the people around, which this can kind of give you experience with too. So, and then it says, the highlight changes on screen option is already selected, which is right here. We're not going to worry about where. We're not looking at a particular location here. And then, so you could also list changes in a new sheet if you wanted to. We're not going to select that. So we're going to press OK. And then it says no changes were found with the specified properties. To highlight all changes, uncheck the when, who, and where options. And we're going to press OK. So now we're going to go to File, and we're going to come down here to Options, and we're going to stay under General. Oops. And then under the username, we're going to pretend that we are Mr. Delamore. Oops, spelled that wrong. Okay. So we are going to press OK. So now we're somebody else. Okay. And we are going to have changed the document user name to the Luca Delamore. All right. So we are going to click in cell A14, and we are going to type the information in the column. So we're going to type in a new last name, and that's going to be Delamore. Luca. And they're at File Clerk. And they redo mailboxes. Okay. So as you enter these changes, a colored triangle and comment box appear for each entry made. This makes it easier to view the changes later. Okay, and these are all tied to Luca Delamore. So we are going to save because these are the changes made under Luca Delamore. So now we're going to go, after it saves, to File, and we're going to go to Options, and we're going to pretend like we're a new user now, and we're going to be Billy Joe Murray. All right. All right. Then we're going to click OK. Now you're going to once again add some more stuff. So now we're going to be in A15, and we're going to type in Murray, tab, Billy Joe, and then receptionist, and then remove all old contacts. Okay. All right. So it says move the mouse pointer to cell D15 and the person's name who made the changes, the date and the time change, and then the change itself appear in the screen that you see here on the screen. Now, it says look at the screen tip for the other cells in rows 14 and 15. And it has possibly, depending on how fast I typed, a different timestamp. It does not for Billy Joe, but it does for Lucas, and it's a different color. All right, so we're going to press save. And now we are going to go to File, and we're going to go to Options, and we're going to be Aaron this time. Aaron Higgins. Okay. All right. And then we're going to press OK. And now we're going to go to A16, and we are going to type in Higgins, Aaron, and receptionist, and clean all corridors. Okay. And then they want us to click in D13. And remember, we are still Aaron at this point. And then they say, once we've clicked in D13, and then edit the cell so corridors is spelled correctly. Okay. So in D13, it says clean all corridors. We're going to fix that. Okay. And now remember, we're under Aaron, so this is going to come up as Aaron's correction. And then instead of pressing enter, I'm going to come up here and press the check to press enter so I stay in that box. Okay, so now we're going to go to the review tab, and we are going to go to the changes group, and we're going to drop down track changes. Okay, and now we're going to do accept and reject changes. Okay, and the dialog box appears asking to confirm that you want to save the workbook. We're going to press OK. And it will save for us. And then it says select changes to accept or reject the dialog box option. Or excuse me, to select changes to accept or reject dialog box opens. All right, so that's what this is again. And in the select changes to accept or reject dialog box, we're going to click who. And we are going to see a longer list now. So we're going to click Aaron. So we're going to see what she has done. And we're going to press OK. Alexa, stop. Excuse me. Okay. So you or we have just asked Excel to return only the track changes made by Aaron. Excel highlights row 16 with the green dashes where Aaron or Higgins information was typed in. So we're going to click reject for all 4 entries. Okay. In row 16 are gone. Then it says you should only have pressed reject once because reject only gets rid of one thing. Reject all is going to get rid of everything. And now we should be in D13. And it says when you select D13 for the correction of the spelling of corridors. And we want that to be fixed. So instead of rejecting it or getting rid of it, we didn't want the other ones. That's why we rejected it. We click accept and it keeps it there. All right, so now we're going to press save. And we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Options. And then we are going to come down here and pretend now that we are Jim Geist. And then we're going to press OK. And we're going to go back to the Review tab in the Changes group, and we're going to drop down Track Changes and click Accept and Reject Changes. And then where it says when, it says Not Yet Reviewed will be selected by default. In the Who box this time, we are going to look for Lucas. All right. So you don't see Luca here. Don't be worried. Just scroll down a little bit. So the other thing under when is you could do it since the date or the ones that aren't reviewed. So we're looking for the ones that we haven't looked over or reviewed to see if we want to accept or reject those people's changes. So we're going to come here and we're going to pick Luca. And then we are going to press OK. And it is selecting row 14. And we are going to click accept to accept each of the changes made by Lucas. So we want to keep what he added or she added, whatever, here. So we're going to press accept. And we're going to press accept again, 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 and again. And then once that dialog box goes away, that indicates that those are all the changes that Luca did. Okay? So now we're going to press save. And this time, we are going to go back to the review tab, go to the changes group, drop down track changes, and we are going to go to accept and reject changes. And we're going to do this a little bit differently this time. Okay, so we're not going to change anything here where it says where. We are going to click the collapse dialog box button. Okay, and we're going to select the data in row 15. Okay. And then click the expand dialog box button here. And we are going to click OK. And we are to close this dialog box. And then we are going to get the, what do we want to do? Do we want to accept or do we want to reject? And it should be selecting row 15 because that's what I told it to do. And we're going to reject them all. So when we click reject all, gives you a little warning box like, hey, sure, you really want to do this? Yep, press OK. And then that is gone. So rejecting essentially will undo whatever track changes have been done by that certain individual. And again, we're here pretending to be multiple people so you can see what it does in all the different colors that'll appear as different people would be coming in and making changes with this document. You can also see something very similar in Google with the options, except for when you're logged in as you, it automatically happens. This is a little bit different because I'm logged in as me, or it's my computer, and I'm not like sending the file and getting it back and having different people's names popped up. So that's essentially what we're trying to simulate here with this make-exercise. So I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to Save As because they want us to update this and make it another file. So we are going to name it 11 Assignments Edited Solution. Okay. So now we are going to, using this workbook, we're going to go to the Review tab in the Changes group, and we are going to click the Track Changes, and we're going to do Highlight Changes. And in the When box, all is selected by default. This tells Excel to search through all the track changes made in the worksheet by whomever. We're going to clear the who and the where boxes. So we just deselect it like that. That's what they mean by clear them, essentially disable. Then we are going to click the list changes on a new sheet checkbox this time. So you can see what that's like. And then we're going to click OK. And what happens is you get this worksheet default named history, and it is going to show you all the changes that you made and put in this table, essentially, that a pivot, if you will. And it will allow us to manipulate the data from our changes. Just kind of a list, if you will, if for some reason you needed to see changes that have happened that you essentially turned on. Remember, way back up here in the changes group when we started a few minutes ago. All right. It says on the history worksheet in the corner of the worksheet adjacent to the first column, we're going to press select all. You know, you can press Control A. And we're going to go to the Home tab. And then in the clipboard group, we're going to press copy. And then we're going to press Control N for a new workbook. And then they want us to go to the clipboard group again and press paste. And it comes on over here, and then we're going to give this a name. This workbook itself a name. And this workbook is going to be called 11 Assignments History Solution. And then we are going to press save. So essentially what we've done here, and we really wanted to, is we made a separate copy of this. We could have moved the workbook, the worksheet over to a new workbook if we wanted to, but it looks like they want to have two versions of this. So I'm going to close out of that, and here's back to the original. So it says in the shared workbook, and you might say, how do I know it's a shared workbook? Look up here at the title bar. It says shared in square brackets, plus the other one, it said the directions to close. And we are going to go to the review tab. And we are going to click Unprotect Share Workbook. And then we are going to come over here in the Review tab in the Changes group, and we're going to click Share Workbook. And the Share Workbook dialog box appears again. And it is the Editing tab that we want. And remember, we're Jim right now, not me. That's why I went from my name to Jim's name. And it says on the Editing tab, make sure that Jim Geist, the last username changed in the file and options, is the only user listed in the WHO for this workbook Open Now list. And then it says clear the allow changes by more than one user at the same time checkbox. So this up here. And so allow changes by more than one user at the same time. This allows workbook merging. We're going to turn that off. Okay. And now we are going to press OK. We'll get a warning box that comes up. It says this action will remove the workbook from the share use. The change history will be erased, and other users who are editing this workbook will not be able to save changes, even if they share this workbook again. Remove the workbook from the share use. To make the workbook exclusive, click yes. To cancel it and return to the shared mode, press no. We're going to press yes to turn off that shared status, and the work share is removed. And there is the reason we made a copy of that history and put it in another workbook, because it's gone. Okay, and that's essentially what it was warning us about. So now we're going to press save. And now you know how to track changes, turn on track changes, so it is tracking everybody's essential use of the program, and you can kind of see what people are adding or taking away, and will allow you to accept and reject their changes, again, through the Review tab in the Changes group. Thank you.